Thank God you remembered that, Maria. Honestly, we were talking about this. We're like, what if we don't record this? And then we have to pretend to do a whole other summit. It would have been really tough. Okay, so any advice on whether to start a new Instagram account or keep your old one but cleaning it up when starting a new service-based business? So this is actually funny. I just recorded an episode about this, but it's not out yet. So do keep an eye. It will be out kind of in the coming months. Um, but this one's a really tough one because there's kind of two schools of thought on it, and I'll answer and then I'll kind of pass over to Maria. So one is your audience ideally is kind of looking for whatever it is that you are like that you are providing. So it's like we had somebody we worked with kind of early on, and they were creating a personal development brand, and they originally were a realtor, and they like kind of just like shifted their account, and that was really tough because someone who really cares about real estate might not care about personal development. I mean, ideally everybody cares about personal development, but so what I would say is just knowing that like that might not be the case, and you might lose audience, lose engagement. So sometimes if you're looking for like a ton of engagement, that starting fresh, you kind of get those people kind of like, those people who are really interested. The other thought is that if you already have audience, people love a pivot. They love to be part of your story. They love to see like what you're up to. They love to see, we've pivoted multiple times. And sometimes like that original community you've grown with, and they're part of your community and they're so excited about it and they want to see kind of what's next. So that's kind of my thought on it is like, I know that isn't a great answer because you're like, what should I do? And I'm like, you can do either things. But there's kind of two ways to look at it and both are totally fine.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's so funny. I was having this exact conversation with another agency owner yesterday, and she was like, my client wants to start new, but like, what do you think? And when I went to their profile, my first thought was like, it looks really great that they have 12,000 followers. Like, it adds credibility, it adds that authority. And I think less and less people are looking at like how many likes and comments you're kind of getting. So I do think though, like, you can kind of use your goals as a base as to decide whether or not you should start fresh. Because if your goal is to have a high follower number and that is important in your industry, or that's important to you, or you think that looks really good when clients are vetting you, or whatever the case may be, then it might actually be more beneficial to keep those audience members, even if they're not the most aligned, and it might bring your engagement rate down. But if your goal is to have that like vanity metric of the amount of followers and you think that builds your authority in a different way, then that can be really great, right? But if your goal is maybe you're like you want brand deals, or you're more focused on your personal brand, or you want really high engagement for some reason, then it might make more sense to start fresh. I also think it makes sense to start fresh if you kind of have an ick about like talking to your current audience about your new thing. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're like, hey, now I can't remember what example with your example with the real estate was second or first, but like now I'm a real estate agent, and you're kind of like, oh, I don't think my audience really cares. I don't really want to hear about it. And I have all these friends from high school on here and like all of this stuff. Like, if you're getting in your head about all that, then it might make sense to start fresh. But personally, typically I would normally say just keep trucking on with your existing audience and see how it goes.
Everyone is very worried about their friends from high school. I don't know. Like even I was joking about this the other day. I had a baby shower on Sunday. I'm pregnant, and I was like, these high school friends are coming back for me. But I'm like, it's engagement. I'm here for it. So yeah, great question. Eve had the next question, and Maria, maybe I'll leave this one with you.
I
I've
thought
been
there was one above it, no?
no, it was an accolade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so nice. Thanks.
Thank you. I've been absent from Insta a long time and want to separate new info from old. Don't want to restart, but want a clear break. Should I use a 9 square fixed graphic?
I actually saw this as you were talking. I was like, oh, this is my favorite thing to talk about, the fixed graphics. Okay, guys, I passionately hate these fixed graphics because they look really great when you first post them. It's like so aesthetic. It looks so cool. It's like all together in one thing and all. And so for people if you don't know what we're talking about, it's when you post, people do it in either like 3, 6, or 9 kind of blocks, but you like design, this is hard to explain, one big design that all these 9 posts kind of like create on your feed. You're trying to find an
Yeah, I'm gonna
example.
try to find an example.
Um, once they're all posted, so you basically post them one right after another, and then like they're all on your feed, and they create this like one big picture that like comes together as one. The reason I hate this is because then when you post one additional post, the whole thing gets screwed up. You know what I mean? So like you have the perfect 9 grid that like breaks things up, but then you post one new post and then everything's askew and the thing doesn't look good anymore. So unless from that point on you're posting 3 posts at a
Yeah.
time, which we wouldn't recommend,
There's
then
always
it's
moving.
always going to be skewed. Like it's only once every 3 posts is it going to look correct. So that's why I personally don't like that. So I don't know if you want to add any
Well,
thoughts.
I was
Maybe
just
we
gonna
could talk about what she could do instead.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's actually like no way to keep them because then she Eve asked, is there not a way to for them to not scroll?
Oh,
That's no,
unless
unfortunately.
you do 3 and
Three.
pin them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Which isn't the worst idea, but then when people go to the post, it's all kind of unhinged over there. So I would say in my session, I kind of went over what you could do with some pinned posts. Like we love an authority post, we love like kind of like a start here intro post, like different things like that. Something that kind of shows like what you're up to, like, or if you're a service provider, like what your services might be. If you're a brick and mortar, like maybe your hours, maybe a client testimonial, like things where someone is like, okay, yeah, like I'm gonna follow this person, this is the information I'm looking for.
Hmm.
That's more bang for your buck. The 9 grid thing, unless you don't have the intention of posting ever again on your feed, it doesn't work. And I do know somebody who basically like hates Instagram, and she has done this, and she uses only stories. Her account doesn't grow, but she cultivates the people she has, and she brings in Instagram followers maybe off other platforms. So it's just really thinking about it from that perspective.
I think other ways you could do it are, one, archive your old posts or delete them or whatever that looks like. Or two, just slightly switch your visual identity to create that like clean break it sounds like you want.
Yeah.
So changing the style, the aesthetic, the colors, the fonts, like that kind of thing will show a clear break if you go different enough from your old aesthetic. Those are I would opt for one of those two options.
Yeah. I'm Sarah asked a question and she said, I find that I'm not getting aligned followers. I keep getting the VA, social media agencies, etc., following me. Any insight? So what I would say about that is that I know, Sarah, you are a member of the Social Business Club, if this is Sarah over to Best. And we have a model or a module in there about engagement, and I would encourage you to do that module because it's really helpful for knowing like how to connect with people and who you should be connecting with, because then you'll start to get that content back. But there's a few things, like one, probably what's happening is that like your content isn't hitting the right people. So it's really just thinking about like how do you make content that is like going to connect with these ideal clients. So that is really the most important thing. So like how when you're making content, it's not thinking about like, oh, what do I like or whatever. It's actually thinking about like what would my ideal client respond to? What's going to make that ideal client be like, oof, like I need to be part of that. So that's one of the big pieces I would say. It's natural you're getting these. I get these too. Like people will be like, "Are you looking for like a podcast manager?" And I'm like, "Get real!" Like that's so funny. Or like I could skyrocket your engagement. So I just think really figuring out your content pillars, and Ben just dropped a resource about content pillars, but like making engagement yeah, kind of work for you there.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, another thought is like, are some of these VAs maybe looking for what you're selling? Like, could they be your ideal audience? Maybe, potentially. But I also think that kind of just naturally comes when you're posting content, and you're going to get some of those people because they are trying to sell their services. So they're like trying to follow you essentially to get a follow back. Maybe you want to hire them, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I think that does just come with posting. Um, but I agree. I think focusing on there's also a module, I think it's like maybe the first module in the Social Business Club that's about like a deep dive on your ideal client. And I think really like getting yourself in their shoes and like using their language. I haven't fully looked at your account, but I'd be happy to if you want to post something in the Social Business Club Facebook group. I will answer your question there. But yeah, I think it's really using their language, getting in their head and creating content that's very specific and intentional towards exactly who they are.
Yeah.
But I also think those agencies and VAs are always gonna just be
Mhm.
popping in. But you want your ideal client on top of that too, obviously, right?
Keep dropping questions in here, guys. I was just going to also say too, we dropped our daily Instagram checklist for engagement. And that's another piece. Is just like if you're looking for something in your business, this is something I didn't talk about, but I always do talk about. So if you've ever heard my podcast, you're like, I get it, woman. But like if you're looking for something in your business, really just thinking about like you need to be the leader of doing that. So if you're like, I'm not getting a lot of followers, like who are you following? If people aren't, if you're engaging with your stories, like are you engaging with people's stories? Like are you connecting with people? All of those things are really important for you to be thinking about as you are growing your audience. So even for me, like sometimes I'm like, oh, like I'm kind of having low engagement on these things. And then I'm like, why? And I'm like, oh, it actually like is either like my clients don't want that, people aren't enjoying that, like whatever that looks like, or I'm also not engaging enough on the platform to get enough traction.
Hmm.
So it's something that I see, a mistake we see people make often is that they start posting and then they're like, I posted, like there it is.
There are the people.
Yeah, and it's like it's not enough to just post. Like you need to be like leading the engagement there.
Yay, love these questions coming
From
in.
Hannah.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so Hannah said, I'm a professional photographer who's open to travel. What's the most effective way to reach an international audience? I think the cool thing about social is that, like, by nature of it, you are reaching an international audience. So, obviously, you're going to be a little bit more limited because you're sticking to English speaking people and people who want photography,
Hmm.
and that probably limits it to different geographical locations. But I think when you're pitching your content and when you like, I know Christina talked a little bit about bio in her session, but like when you're positioning yourself, I would position yourself less as like, and I think, is this the Hannah I'm thinking of? I don't know, but less of like hometown photographer in London, Ontario, like hashtag London, Ontario, all those things, and more like, I'm assuming you have some kind of passive product or online course or something you can sell internationally.
Hmm.
More like lean more into that in your bio and your pinned posts, things like that, in your hashtags. Yeah, it's hard without a little bit more information on you, but I think the main thing is just like leaning away from those more like hometown kind of like style posts and content, even too when you're talking about like your services and like maybe you did a photo shoot for this family, but like less that kind of content and more content based on whatever your international offering is.
Hmm. Yeah, it's also about social proof as well. So it's like if you've had gigs that are not local, like really like, Maria's talking about leaning into that, but like you want to be talking about that all the time. Like
Yeah.
always being like, "Oh, here I am, like come with me to my like shoot here, come with me here," because you need to like train people that that's like something that you do. And then the other thing I've seen people do on TikTok that I think would also work on Instagram is like actually connecting with wedding venues, or if you're like not doing weddings or like whatever, but like connecting with venues or other photographers and like doing collaborations. That'll be really important too, I think, because it can be really like challenging, like because you're actually like kind of doing a double sale. You're selling someone on your services, and then you're selling on them on like why you over somebody local.
Yeah.
And so somebody actually who was our photographer at High Five Women, she just went to Atlanta to do a shoot because the woman like loved the photos so much from our event. And so, which is amazing, right? So, but like that was maybe that came from social proof, right?
Yeah.
So as much as of that you can show, the better.
Yeah, sorry. Rereading your question, I realize you're not talking about a course or whatever. You're talking about traveling to do
Yeah.
the photography. So, like what I said still applies, but just leaning into that. Oh, I'm traveling to do this photography. Come with me to, Miami where we're shooting this client or whatever. I think like what Christina was talking about. But yeah, sorry, I went on a tangent with the passive courses.
No, it's helpful for other people who might have courses. Yeah.
Yeah.
When a topic has a lot of depth, how do you break it into multiple under 1 minute videos without oversimplifying while still getting strong content value from it?
Good question. Okay, first thing, I think there's so many answers for this. The first
Hmm.
thing that comes to mind is like you can direct them somewhere else where you give a more in-depth explanation on this. So we do this all the time where we record these like super in-depth like YouTube videos, or we'll make blog posts that are like, here's everything you need to know, here's all the information. And then what we do is we kind of work backwards. So we start with the YouTube video or the blog post and then simplify it into a post. And then for people who want more information, they get to go whether you use ManyChat or link in bio or whatever, give them an easy access point to access the rest of the information. That's the first thing that comes to mind for me.
Hmm. Yeah, I think too also something that this is a little more or a little less tactical than what Maria said, more philosophical, which is funny because usually we're reversed.
Yeah.
But like often we think of like the things that we do and we're like
Mhm.
we're so in the weeds on it. And something that we always say to our clients is like, you are an expert, your audience is not. And sometimes like we have a tendency to overshare about our niche because we think people need that information, but in fact they actually don't, because it actually just comes from a place of like, we just want to provide so much value, but like they actually don't need that much. So Maria and I, we laugh because our one of our very first clients, and she's still a client and a friend, was a naturopath. And she was like, she is very sciencey by nature, right? By the work that she does. And she'd be like, okay, I really want to do this thing on hormone optimization and like blah, 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 blah. And I'll make a video about this. And then we were like, or Maria was like, what's a hormone? And she was like, oh my goodness, like, yes, you're my ideal client. And I realized that like what you care about is actually being burnt out and tired. And, so what you actually want to be talking about is like problem points. Like you want to be looking for the pain points of your clients and talking about how you solve those in the most simple way, because the more complicated stuff is actually like what kind of takes away from the I think the trust in the fast sale, because it's too overwhelming for people. So
Yeah, totally.
I've definitely had this before where we're actually both Maria and we were enrolled in a course that we just got added to yesterday. And I think we got 7 emails last night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm never going to open any of these emails, because even though I'm really excited about what they're teaching about, I'm emotionally unavailable to be like in that. Like, because it's just too many things. So it's like, instead, what they should have done is sent us one email with everything that we need to do step by step. So I think really trying to figure out like, how do we get value? Is really actually using and this is something that we talk about a lot, like when we coach, is that like use the questions that your ideal clients are asking you. So
Yeah.
when people are asking you, and so if you have a meeting with somebody, if you have a call with somebody, if anything like that happens, you go to an event, anything, ask like anything anyone writes. I'm emotionally unavailable for literally
For a lot of
everything.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most I'm physically unavailable for lots of things right now, but emotional, like really everything. But um keep a note on your phone with ideas of things that people ask you. So like even here, like I have seen like so many things come up in the chat where I'm like, oh, like that's an interesting question. I didn't realize that people didn't know that. And you guys are kind of like our ideal like people to talk to. So I'm going to do a podcast episode on that. And
Yeah.
that's now super easy. So just thinking about stuff like that, it makes content easier so that you're able to break it down for people.
One last thing I'll add there is I think it can be really helpful to get like an accountability buddy, brainstorming partner, or somebody who is similar to your ideal client or is your ideal client.
Yeah.
And I always find this so funny. So we do live calls in the social business club, and someone will be like, "What if I did this post on this, and it's gonna be so crazy and in depth and blah blah blah," and then everyone else in the call is kind of like, "We don't care or know what that is. Like that's just
Mm,
too much, right?" So consulting somebody or a group, if you can get in a group, we're going to tell you more about the social business club, so that's always an option. But even for my personal brand, like I have one of my friends who's an ideal audience member for me, and I ask her, I'm like, would you care to hear about this? Would this type of video make sense? And I think what Christina said is so good about, we think they need to like know all this information and have all this background because we're so in the weeds on it.
yeah.
But it's like oftentimes one small little piece from all of that is all they really need to take it and run with it. So
Hmm.
it actually ends up being, I think, a lot simpler than we think it is most of the time.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
especially now, like the most popular trending reels are like 7 to 9 seconds. Like
Mm.
attention spans are shorter and shorter. You need to hook people in the first 1 to 2 seconds. Everything needs to be really like bite-sized and actionable and tangible. So I think having that person you can kind of bounce those ideas off of and see what would resonate with them is super helpful.
I love to encourage people to drop last questions in. We have a few more minutes for questions. But what I was gonna also say is like again, I said this in my session. When people use this term, they usually talk about fitness, but like success does leave clues, right? So look at what is
Mhm.
working and what people like, and what people are connecting with. And maybe people are connecting with like something that I find a lot of the times for my own profile, people really connect with like personal stuff. And I'm always like, that's so
Yeah.
annoying because I would love to just give people social media advice. Like I just want to tell people what to do. But they don't want that. They actually are just looking for more social media tips or engagement or whatever that looks like. And so if that's the case, like how do we provide that value? And so now Maria and I we lean into being a little bit more personal on our personal brands rather than being so like talking head video. We still do like podcast stuff and all of that, but we notice that that's actually like not the stuff that moves the needle.
Yeah.
And so if we are like, okay, I know what moves the needle is I know that what moves the needle is me showing up in stories, or I know that what moves the needle is me doing this, then I do more of that. And so I'm just continuing to look at what works. And I love to just tell people what to do. I love it. Actually, we were just having this conversation because somebody asked us about one-on-one coaching for something, and I was like, I don't love one-on-one coaching because people don't listen to me, and then I get mad. So yeah, so that's why I like group coaching so much, just because I can't invest that much, like I can't do it all. So
And
any
group coaching's so fun.
yeah, so fun. Um, is it smart to have a personal Instagram account and a business one? Is that with you, Maria?
Oh, this is like I feel like a hot topic. I feel like we're always talking about this in the social business club. So I'm of two minds. And okay, maybe let me just preface it with like, don't do anything that is gonna make you like run yourself into the ground. Like
Yeah.
just do what you can. So in my mind, a personal brand is like a bit more of a nice to have and less of a non-negotiable than having a business brand. And I also think depending on what your business is, they could potentially be the same account. So if you're like Sarah's actually probably a good example of someone who could have the same account because it's like if your business is like you selling things, like you coaching somebody one on one, or like you are in a direct relationship with them, then I think it kind of does make sense for it to be one with your personal brand. Like we always have had separate personal brands, and I really like that
Yeah.
separation. One, it's easier to grow a personal brand, and those people who are following your personal brand, they know about your business because you're sharing on stories, you're doing collab posts, it's in your bio. Like they naturally will find their way to your business. So for growth, they're way easier to grow. People relate to them way more. They trust you way more. It's so much easier to just build that know, like, and trust. It's also, I find like a bit less pressure
Yeah.
because it's kind of more vulnerable. It's easier to just share about like, here's what I did today, or like a little bit of insight into my life. And like, it's a bit more personable. So in that way, it also kind of attracts your ideal client a little bit more. Um, but yeah, my only like hesitation on it is I wouldn't want it to like cause so much work and lead to burnout or cause your business account to suffer or things like
Hmm.
that. But in general, I'm team having both.
Yeah, and you can get creative with it and like make collaborative posts and like different things like that that could move the needle as well for you. Like we've had both, and it is way easier to grow a personal brand. People buy from people, like,
Yeah.
so I think as much as you can do that, that's great. But I've also heard of um I have also heard of people doing um what was I not baby brain just left my
Oh,
brain.
it's okay. Jack stole it.
My child just stole that out from my head. Anyway, what I was gonna say is I think for a personal brand and like business brand, I think both are fine. But I also, I have heard of people like where the focus is if you have a business that you might sell one day,
Yeah.
that is like the you might want to create a bit of brand separation. So Maria and I, like, we have no plans of selling Social Snipper right now, but like maybe in the future we want to go all in on something else and we don't want to continue to run our agency. So then we're like, okay, us, another piece is that we have staff. So like we actually don't want to be the face of the Social Snippet because Ben does the majority of the work. We're really just figureheads at this point. So it's like, we really want to make sure that that's what people see.
Yeah.
So we have a few last questions. So let's just do those. And then actually, I think it's just one last question. So, how much time would you recommend spending creating social content versus following up directly with leads one-on-one by email? I'm B2B, so email is important, but I've been finding it overwhelming to stay on top of.
Curious about these leads. Like, are you cold emailing them or do you get the sense?
Um, Yeah, so Ben just dropped a thing about Instagram about, like, if we had 30 minutes a day, how would we spend it? I would say it's important to kind of split time. I mean, warm leads or leads that you have, like, go after
Yeah.
those. Like,
Yeah.
those are definitely like your priority, but content's what's going to keep it going. We have definitely been in seasons where we've been busier than we've needed to be, and so then we actually haven't focused on content because and then we have a slow season and we're like, oh my God, we haven't been doing the thing.
Hmm.
So I would say, like, if there's things you can do, like batch create stuff, or um if you're able to like, yeah, batch create, if you're able to even if you post once a week for a season, that's totally fine. Like, it doesn't need to be 3 times a week, 4 times
Yeah.
a week every day. But what I would say is that, like, focus on, like, if you're getting great leads, looking at that. But the other thing too is that, like, if you're I don't know if you're doing cold email or what the situation is, but like your leads off social are typically warmer than a cold email, right? Like, so you want to be, I would say, still nurturing that audience. We use email to try to bring people also back to social a bit. So like, you'll see us link social links and stuff. We want people to be messaging us on Instagram, like, because that's a little more personal for us than email.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question fully, but yeah, I would say people buy from people, and I would really just be focusing on kind of building that community up. Um, yeah, so those are kind of all our questions we have, like, here time for today. And so we're so grateful. First, I just want to say so grateful for you guys joining us. We know how busy business owners can be. And so yeah, we're just like really excited about continuing to stay connected. But what we wanted to do is really quickly just tell you about our social business club, because we know that we have some members here, which we love. But we would love for you to consider joining us. And we can just tell you really quickly about it.
Yay.
So I can just go over this piece over here, which is basically the social business club came up because we have 85 clients. We love working with our clients, but we noticed that there was just like a need for more. Like people needed more support. We love coaching, but we just didn't have the time to do a lot of one-on-one. And so we created the social business club where we want to help people be able to move the needle on Instagram in their business, gain confidence so that they aren't just like posting random things, but they have content that converts. Connect and network with other amazing business owners. We have over 40 business owners in there already who are just fabulous.
So
Like we
fabulous.
love our Q&A calls. We love connecting, and you get all your questions answered by our team. So you have access to a Facebook group where you can ask questions, and we're always answering it. So whether it's us or Sierra or Ben, we're always in there answering and giving feedback. So we'll go through the structure of it, but yeah, we love it so much.
Another thing that's cool about it too is that we've expanded it a little bit beyond Instagram and social where it began, and it's becoming more holistic. So we also coach on things like funnels, email marketing. Kristina does a lot on like LinkedIn and Threads, a lot of cool stuff happening there. These are just a few of our members and a few of their stories. So new client signups, more confidence, more engagement. It's like really cool to see their stories because it's just like it's not a ton of effort that they have to put in. It's just overcoming these little blocks that really gets you to the next step. And it's so cool to watch them all do it together and cheer each other on and celebrate wins together. And it's really cool to see the transformation and just how quickly it happens. Like these are transformations that happened in, I think, like under 2 months, I would say, of them joining the
Yeah.
club. So it's really cool to see how impactful it can really be with just such small tweaks and changes to your current strategy and without having to get millions and millions of followers, but just using kind of what you already got going and making some small changes to that.
Yeah. So, wondering who this is for. It definitely is for a business owner who wants to use social media. So if you don't like social media, this might not be it. But no, we take kind of anybody who wants to use social media to connect with their ideal client and work with their community. We know how hard it is for people to be finding people online to connect with, and so we really teach you that you want to use social media to make sales in your business. That is like for us the most important piece is that you're not just like randomly posting. That this is actually like a sales tool for you. You're not looking for an overnight fix. You want a long-term sustainable solution, and you're sick of trying to figure it out alone. I know a
Yeah.
lot of the questions that came up today, we really noticed that in community, you can really like get these answers. You get a lot of feedback. You're like, hey, how's this working? Hey, I love this. So we love to provide those answers. So what's included in this is 2 live monthly calls, the coaching calls from me and Maria. This is kind of the only place that we like really like
Coach.
fully coach so
Yeah.
for social media. I mean, I coach newly in another mastermind, but this has been kind of really the lowest ticket spot that anyone can kind of get a hold of us. We have an amazing Facebook community where people are posting. Every week on Monday, we tell you trending audios with ideas of posts you can make. So people have had really good success with these, but
Yeah.
it's like a no-brainer. You get to use them. You get a monthly Canva templates, but you have access to all the previous ones. So, this has been going on for a while now, so you would have access to quite a few. We have a course that we used to sell called Instagram for Impact. It was an amazing course. People had incredible transformations. We've included it in the Social Business Club, and people, we add modules to it. We just added an analytics module. We have some
Yeah.
new stuff kind of brewing. So we love doing that. And we do bonus live trainings in there, and any resources that come for our clients, we typically add them in there as well. So it's like the perfect place for us to all stay connected. And the value of it is, we would say probably well over $2,000 a month, not a month, a year, maybe a month, who knows?
I think, yeah, I think maybe I'm.
But yeah, we do it for quite a bit less.
So here it is, 37 Canadian dollars a month. It was really important to us that we kept this affordable and in Canadian dollars. You're more than welcome to join if you're American. If you're an American, it's basically free.
Yeah, I always say,
37 Canadian dollars. Come on.
I always say to Americans, I'm like, we paid you to be here. Like basically, we're paying you to be in here.
And I think the draw for this, guys, is like if you're attending the summit and you're taking notes, you're like, wow, these are really great ideas and really great inspiration, but like I don't know how to implement this in my business, or how does this tip like apply to me, or how like should I have a personal brand? And like I said to Sarah, I'm like, drop it in the Social Business Club group, because that's where we give like personalized feedback, personalized suggestions. We really hold your hand through it. Like this is where we show up the most. And our team's also in there, or they're on the live coaching calls. Like it's really that personal support. So if you're wondering how to take some of this insight and these tips and everything you've learned today and actually implement it for yourself, and have us coaching you along the way, have an awesome group of women that's kind of holding your hand and cheering you on along the way, this is the spot you want to be. And you can get your first month for $1. So might as well try it out and join us in there. We would absolutely love to have you. And something really cool we're going to be doing in the next few weeks is Kristina is going to be doing a live threads training. So this is just a screen grab from one of our members who got some awesome results from just a few minutes of Kristina on one of our live coaching calls talking about some threads advice. So we're
Yeah.
taking that to the next level, doing a live training on it, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, and if you can't make it live, you can always watch the replay. But yeah, definitely check it out. We have use the code summit at the socialbusinessclub.ca for your first month for $1. If you go in there for a month and you don't get the value, you can always cancel. But for $37 a month, I think we've one of the best communities online in terms of value and the women connecting with each other. And this is an example when we did a Q&A call, one of our amazers was like, hey, I'm thinking about starting threads. Like, do you have any ideas? We were able to pour into her, and now she's giving a presentation to 900 entrepreneurs at the end of May. Like that's huge exposure. So there's a lot of really good stuff kind of happening there. So we will send this up in a follow-up email as well, but we would love it. Even if you don't join the Social Business Club, we'd love to see you in there, of course, but here are some amazing spots you can connect with us, whether that be, at the social snippet at Kristina.Bartold, at Maria Tassi, or come send us over an email. We'd love to connect with you. Search us up on LinkedIn or Threads. We're everywhere. We're everywhere but
except TikTok.
Yeah. But we had such a great day today. We hope you guys did too. And we're looking forward to staying connected and in touch. Anything you need, we're always here, and to this and more.
To this and more. Thanks for being here, guys. And we'll stay on a couple extra minutes if you have any questions about the Social Business Club you want to ask.
Amazing.